Good afternoon. I am here with Angela Cheng, President of the New York State Council from 2022 to 2023. When you joined the State Council, were you a staff member, student, clinical coordinator, and management? So this is when you first started in the council.
Yeah. So when I first started, that was, oh boy, like 31 years ago when I was a pharmacy resident. Yep. So that was definitely a long time ago.
Okay. And who did you meet that made you want to advance in the organization?
Yeah. It was Dr. John Mansell. Um, he was my residency director at the time, and I could see that he was so dedicated to the professions. And I think at the time he was a chapter president. I think he was a chapter president for New York City, and then he went on to the to be the state president. So I saw his dedication throughout the whole time, and I really thought that was very admirable, and I knew that someday I wanted to follow his footsteps.
How many of the previous past presidents did you know, and what were they like? You mentioned John.
Yep.
Who else did you know?
Yeah, so I work at Montefiore Medical Center, and we have a legacy of service to the pharmacy profession, and especially serving at my ship or the serving at the state council. From Clerk Kleiman, my very first director at Montefiore, that was, oh boy, about 30 years ago. He was once a president of the New York State Council, and then there was John Mansell. And then there was Mark Sennett. And by the way, there was also Frank Sosnowski. So we have a long tradition of serving the New York State Council. So that's why I know that it's almost like it is my destiny to follow their footsteps and to also serve the State Council.
What challenges did you see as a member, as a board member, and then as a president of the organization?
Yep. So I would say that as a member, so the challenges were different between different phases, among different phases of my involvement with the New York State Council. And I think in the beginning, I just didn't know a whole lot of people. And I didn't know how to get involved. But it was later on when I'm able to um, network more, involve with the state, with the chapter activities, then I got to know more people. I got to know how to participate, how to get involved. So that's when I'm able to be more engaged. And I would say that also as a board member, then later on, I became president of the Westchester chapter. Then I realized that now, I think the challenge is on the other end. You know, instead of struggling to know how I can get involved, it's the other way around, how to get other people involved and engaged. So I think I've always seen that to be quite a challenge, is to get everybody involved. And that's just because, first and foremost, our organization is a volunteer organization. So we really need everyone's effort and participation in order to advance this organization. So I think that we constantly have to work on how to get all of us involved so that we can move forward together.
Um, have we met those challenges? It sounds like we did.
Yes, I think so. I think that we are very lucky to have many very dedicated presidents. And including you, Ted. I mean, look at what you're doing now. I mean, you've been president for, I mean, since a while ago, right? But you're still back, serving the New York State Council. So I honestly think that we are very blessed. Yes, we have met the challenge because we have a lot of dedicated individual. And by the way, I just also want to say that besides people whom I work with at Montefiore, there are other very dedicated members like Bruce. Bruce passed Gao, I believe his last name. Um, I mean, he was president a while ago, but yet he is still involved with the REF. And so is Marsha Gutfeld. I remember that when I first became a board member, she was the chair of the House of Delegates, and she was just always so dedicated and just very caring, very involved. And I knew that, that she was a great role model for me, that I wanted to be like her when I grow up, or many of you, like many of the past presidents. And also, gosh, like Tom Lombardi, he's a
Okay.
parliamentarian. Yeah. Yeah. And he's still serving. He was president a while ago. So I just want to say that we have so many wonderful examples to follow within our own organization. And that is very, very encouraging. Um, and also, so during my presidency, I also try to follow their footsteps in getting more people to involve. But one thing that I feel is absolutely necessary is really mentorship to the next generation. As you recall, I said that the first time when I first got interested was 30 years ago when I had John Mansell as my preceptor. And I learned from him that it is important to serve the profession. And that's when I always kept in mind that, yes, someday I'm going to come back. I'm going to come back to the New York State Council and serve. So I think it is so important to have that mentorship that we need to continue to do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, how often and where did the board of directors meet when you were president?
Yep.
Was it very organized and professional,
Mm.
or was there more camaraderie?
Yeah. So I want to say that when I was president, we were just getting out of the pandemic. Not quite. It was 2022. So we were not able to meet as many times as we would like, but we did meet, I think, 3 times in person throughout the year. But we had a monthly meeting, so regardless of we're meeting live or not, we met every single month to discuss the issues of the day, and there were many. Um, I would say that because maybe we didn't meet in person, there was less of an opportunity to build relationships among the different board members, but we were still very professional to each other. And I can't say that we always agreed. But that's okay, because sometimes we're different individuals. We don't have to agree all the time. And sometimes disagreement can actually create new thinking, or maybe a different way or creative way to do things. So it's okay. So I want to say that um, everyone maintained a very professional relationship, and we were still able to meet every month virtually, regardless of um, the obstacle of not being able to meet in person more often.
Okay. Were there any major mishaps or issues when you were president which would be useful for future presidents not to
Yeah.
repeat?
I wouldn't say that it's something not to be repeated, because there are always going to be mishaps. Things are never going to be perfect. Um, I think you can only do your best at the moment, and it will be okay. So during my year, one of the board members actually had to attend to a family matter, and he had to kind of uh, maybe give up on his work at the state council for the time being. So it kind of caught me by surprise, because we really had a lot of activities planned. We were having high hopes for advocacy activities because we were just getting out of the pandemic, and we really want to advocate for the pharmacy profession. But it just so happened that he couldn't continue with his position kind of midway during his term. So, but that was okay. Things happen. So immediately I was able to seek help. And luckily, one of our past presidents, Chris Strada, stepped up to be the director of advocacy. So we were able to continue with our advocacy work. So I want to say that because we have a strong organization and we have a very strong, dedicated group, it's okay. We will help each other out no matter what happens.
Okay. What was your favorite or most memorable moment of being president?
Yeah, I think there were many. But I have to say that my most favorite, would it be okay if I tell you more than one
Sure,
moment? Okay.
sure.
Yep. So my most favorite is doing installation at the annual assembly. I don't know if you remember, Ted, because I remember you gave me a piece of advice. You said time flies, right? Yeah, and it did. It
I
truly
gave
did.
it to all the presidents
That's right.
and it's very true.
Yeah, that's true. And we appreciate that. Um, so as a matter of fact, yes, I took that to heart. So I really enjoyed the moment. And during the installation, I actually, we had a singing and dancing. I was kind of, I didn't mind making a fool of myself because when I looked around, everyone was smiling. And that brought a lot of joy, a lot of camaraderie, just a lot of togetherness, and just joy, So that's the moment that I remember the most is that, we have joy and camaraderie as an organization. So I would say that was the most important highlight. Another really wonderful moment was we were able to do a joint meeting with ACCP and PISNey with the Western chapter in, I think, September of the year when I was president. And that was one of my goals is to be able to collaborate outside of the state council with other organizations like ACCP and PISNey because we are all pharmacists, all of us. And it was always my wish, and also the president before me, Ruth Cassidy, her wish to be able to collaborate. So to be able to do that coming out of the pandemic was a great joy. And it was a very successful meeting. Everybody really enjoyed the camaraderie. And that was great. And other than that, we also had like breast cancer walk that involved the different chapters, especially in the downstate area, and also the gala, the state council gala that involved all the chapter uh, members. Um, and I think that that was something that I also wanted to do. Me, along with my presidential officers, we've always wanted to build great relationships with all our chapters and work together. There's no you and I, we're all the same. So when we had done those activities together, we truly showed that we were a team. We were one team and we worked together.
The annual assembly, you mentioned it earlier. When you became a member, what were the early annual assemblies like and where were they held?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk to you about more than 30 years ago in Sagamore? So
Sure.
when I was a resident, I remember that was with John Mansell. He was a very active member at the time. I remember going to the annual assembly. It was a much smaller group. Gosh, I don't remember how many members we had. Um, Maybe we had 1,000, maybe less than 1,000. But I remember the annual assembly was a lot smaller. I think right now, I believe we have about 500 attendees. But back then, it felt like maybe there were like 200 attendees. It was much smaller. It was more intimate. It pretty much like we did everything together because there was one thing to attend, because right now we have so many concurrent activities going on. But I think back then there was like one thing, because we didn't have as many members. But that was all also good because there was a closeness among everyone. Um, but I think that it was still a great experience for me because I learned that we are all pharmacists. We can work together. We share the same joy. We share the same concerns, and we all want to advance our profession, and we all want to be better pharmacists. So I think that no matter how big or small our organization is, I always know that we're gonna be great as a group, no matter our size.
Okay. Now, you mentioned this earlier, but what was it like when you were president at the annual assembly? Was it busy, chaotic, or sedate? How would you describe your time
Yeah.
as your initial president's days at the assembly?
I would say it's getting busy. It was getting busy only because we were coming out of the pandemic. So we knew that we had to do a lot. to engage our members. So we were trying to have different activities going on. And also our chapters were also struggling to get back, because 2022, that was the time when all the chapters need to get the members back. Um, and I think one of the challenge was that before the pandemic, we had about 2,000 members. And a year and a half later, since the pandemic, we lost quite a bit. Like our membership went down to, I think, 1,450 in a year and a half. But there's no fault to anybody. It's just, people couldn't come and they stopped their membership. So we had to work very hard, not only us, but all the chapters had to work very, very hard to get their members back. So I would say that it was rather a busy time to engage with members, to also encourage all our chapters to engage with their members. So I had the privilege to travel to all the different chapters to kind of like see the success in getting the members back, in having the meetings with the members. So I would say probably it was a busy enough time that that really added to a very meaningful journey for me.
Okay, generational changes.
Yeah,
When you started, did you feel you needed to work your way up to the presidency? New
yeah,
members have a very different philosophy of needing more evenly divided time between work and play.
yeah.
How do we help them assume these roles in the state council? And will the new members be able to move the council forward? A lot of
I
questions.
Yeah, I love that question. That's a great question and a very important one. Okay, so I have to say that when I was a resident 30 years ago, that was when I joined. Um, I was like, oh my goodness, it's impossible for me to be president someday, because I see all the presidents as, very successful, very achieved. And I thought, oh wow, you gotta like work really hard for many, many years to even get there. And I think, in fact, I think that was the case because I remember um, that people have to be on the board, right, for 10 years to get to, um, being considered for the president position. Um, but as time went along, especially when the pandemic happened, it was very difficult because people now may have different priorities that they, in fact, may not be able to devote that many years in one organization to maybe to work up to being the president. So I wonder if there's also the maybe the concern of the newer generation is that they don't feel like they have that time to devote to kind of to this long run of I would say commitment. Um, but I have to say this. Um, I'm very encouraged that even though some people they may spend a shorter time to become president, or some people may spend a longer time to become president. But no matter what the timeline is, everyone is committed. um, I would say that all the presidents, when they ask, they will come back. They will come back to help. And as a matter of fact, you are here, and many of the past presidents are here. So it's almost like a lifetime commitment, no matter how you slice it or dice it, right? How short or long. But I think that most importantly, I hope that we will continue to encourage the next generation, just like John Mansell had encouraged me that, hey, you know what? This is a worthwhile organization to join and to be a part of. And you do whatever you can. Maybe sometimes your life could be more busy, so you do a little bit less. You can do micro volunteering, but sometimes your life may be less busy, so you do more. Um, and I think that by having us setting a good example for the next generation, letting them know that it is okay to have a good work-life balance and you do whatever you can. Because, like you said, we may not no longer be able to expect everybody to be on the board for 10 years before they come to be president. But I think that a lot of times it is important to have that journey. Um, at the same time, we want to encourage those people who are really passionate, who are really talented, to lead the organization forward, and to let everyone keep in mind that no matter what role you have in this organization, all roles are important because we couldn't be this great organization without every one of us. And when even when your journey to the presidency is a little bit shorter, that's okay. You can always come back to help out. It is a lifetime family. I want to say at the end of the day, it's a lifetime family. Um, but I think that if anything that I hope is that more of our members will encourage the next generation to join our organization and to volunteer and to um, help to move our profession forward.
Any final party nuggets you would give to future members who wish to be president?
That's great. Yeah, great question. So I want to say that it's a big commitment to be president. It's a big commitment to be a board member. And it's a big commitment to be a committee chair or even to be a committee member because this is extra time from your work that it's almost like having a side job sometimes, depending on how much time you can devote to the state council. But everything that you do will be rewarded in different ways. Because as a president or as a board member, I was met with many challenges. Like I said, um, a lot of times we may think, oh, I'm volunteering in an organization. So everything, all the circumstances have to be right in order for me to volunteer, right? Because this is a volunteer job. I'm not getting paid. But the truth is, people are never going to think the same way. We're not never going to agree in everything because we are different individuals. How can we all agree at the same time? But I would like the next people coming up to understand that it is okay to disagree because when we disagree, sometimes, as long as we disagree in a productive way, in a respectful way, we are able to create new ideas. And to create, even a better organization together. So it's okay to disagree. That's one thing. As long as we're respectful and we're creative and we have the best interest of our profession in mind, that is okay. So I would say that's one thing that I would like to um, impart to the people listening. And also, yes, it's a lot of work. Doing anything is a lot of work, but I promise you, every effort that you give to this organization will come back to you in a reward. So when I was a board member, I remember I was communications, right, in the beginning. So I remember at the time I had to learn different skills, because when I was a director of communications, I was a little bit older. I wasn't in my 20s or 30s, but I was a little bit older. So in order to keep up, I had to learn different like social media. I had to learn to make videos. So then I did. I learned to make like animation videos. I learned to make podcasts. But you know what? That helped me a lot because now I'm teaching. I'm teaching as a professor at a medical school. I'm able to use those skills to teach my students. And so never a moment wasted. Every skill that you learn, you're going to be able to apply it to your profession and you're going to be able to advance in your own profession. And also, when I was director of communications and president, I was able to learn many skills in dealing with people, in how to work with people, and how to also reflect on my own strengths and weaknesses. And because of that, I'm able to apply all those skills to my new job currently, which is the Associate Course Director for Molecular and Cellular Foundations of Medicine at the Albert Einstein College of Medicine, which is a challenging job, but I'm so thankful for my time at the New York State Council because I've learned so many skills that I'm able to apply to this job right now. So I just want to say, if you're going through a hard time, if you're unsure, that's okay. That's normal. It's normal to be unsure. It's normal to struggle with your time challenge, with your commitment challenge. But every challenge that you're able to overcome, it's going to come back to you as in some sort of rewarding way, that you will continue to build on your career with the skills that you learn at the New York State Council, and you will be able to advance in your career.
Thank you. Thank you so much. With that, we'll end our session, and it's been a pleasure.